Did you catch the MetaZoo Hour on the 24th? Well, actually, you wouldn't be here if you did. So, let's go over it. Tuffy asks, can we see two-player starter decks for LGSs and big box stores in the future? Mike had said R&D is working on this right now. Now, today we do already have release event boxes and theme decks that have this ability, kind of. You could pick up two separate theme decks or two release event boxes and use those to play against another player. There are many TCGs, Pokemon, Magic, etc. Lorcana's going to offer one that have sets that are designed to play against each other with key mechanics. So while I think there's already ways for consumers to get this effect, it isn't really available in big box stores like Walmart or Target, so this is a great idea. MetaPhantoms asks, will there be promos that come in the Smash-like game that will release in the future? Mike says there's going to be multiple in the arcade series. In the Glitchbit series, we do know that every time a game completes successfully, a card will be dispensed for the winner. And it does seem like there's going to be multiple cards in the arcade series. I would imagine at least one card per beastie that you can play as in the game. Dat Hat had asked, do you yourself ever play? If so, what's your choice aura to run? And Mike had responded with, I'm creating a special deck for Caster's Cup. Following on from that, James Jams 24 asked, winner has to defeat Mike for 1% ownership of the company with a smiley face. Mike had replied to that to say, no, actually they get to keep the deck. So I think this is very interesting. What I think you're gonna see Mike building is a very unique, very special spellbook, possibly one with very rare cards so that the winner who defeats him gets to keep some very prized possessions. Now, I don't think we're going to see anything too insane in the spellbook that Mike is building, but we could see some older rare promos. Technically speaking, for it to be a legal spellbook, it couldn't contain any samples, so you probably wouldn't see anything like that in Mike's spellbook. But hey, there's nothing saying there couldn't be Green Man or Red Ink in Mike's spellbook. Pancho Not Streamy Weenie asks, any update you can give us on the cool CGC MetaZoo labels? Andy had replied with, they're happening and almost finished. This is something that I'm pretty excited for because I've been holding off grading my cards for a while now to see what those look like. Andy also followed on to himself saying that due to an agreement I can't spoil them, but they're very dope and Pancho did the art for these. So I think we're gonna see some very cool CGC labels in the future, and this actually might make me go for CGC over, say, PSA. Transam Turbo 350 asked, with the code cards in War, is each one for one virtual pack or a single card? And Mike had answered one virtual pack. This is what I assumed from how the code card works for Pokemon, but it had never really been confirmed before, so it's good to know that we're going to be getting a full pack of cards whenever we use one of the code cards. And I do imagine we're going to get the same exact distribution of what a pack contains now, with the bronze, silver, a hollow or reverse hollow, aura, terra, etc. Matrata asks, golden auction promo still being given out for those that win/bid? Mike had said, I believe so, yes. Andy followed up with that to say, and word is there's more cool golden promos coming this year. So we expect that there's going to be new variants of those golden promos. So if you're interested to get the golden promos, definitely go to Golden Auction's website, search for MetaZoo and see what's available for auction at the moment. When I looked yesterday, there was only one item up for auction, but I do imagine that there will be more in the future. I had one of my questions answered. I had asked Mike, how many interviews do you plan to do in the March-April timeframe? And Mike had answered about 20. Recently, they had announced that they're looking to find people to do interviews with leading into Native, and you need to reach out to Bob to sign up for that. And I have reached out to Bob. Bob did respond. We're looking for a time slot that's going to work. So there is a chance that I'll be talking to Mike in an interview on this channel. As we get closer to that, if that's going to happen, I will reach out to the community to see what questions you want answered. And I do imagine that will be a live interview, so there should be an option for people to ask questions on the spot. GG Unit Blue Z asked, what do y'all think about Lorcana? And Mike had responded with, I think Lorcana will bring a lot of new fans into the TCG industry. He also went on to say that he read that the creator says that they will print on demand and don't intend for Lorcana to be a collectible. And that's a very interesting approach for Lorcana. These people that are looking to collect and grade and keep these grails from the first set may find that it's going to be a lot more common than they anticipate. And that makes sense for something like a Disney IP. They're expecting that the interest is going to be very high, and the interest is very high. Maybe I should be doing some Lorcana videos. Anyway, it doesn't seem like Mike is too fazed by Lorcana, and I don't think that it's going to have a great effect on the MetaZoo community in general. I do think that there are some of us who are going to collect Lorcana for what it is, But at the end of the day, I do think that MetaZoo is going to be just fine with the Lorcana release, despite some of the videos out there that I've seen that Lorcana is going to kill MetaZoo. Moldy Potions asks, will you be changing the art on the MetaZoo medals again soon? And he replied with, new year, new medals. Now I don't know exactly what medals we're talking about, if this is just the first, second, and third place medals, which are very wilderness oriented right now, or if this is basically all the medals in general. Last year, all of the medals, including the content creator medal, got a revamp. Could we see that again this spring? And that begs the question that if there's a new content creator medal, are those that are still doing content eligible for the new medal if they already have the old one? Asking for a friend. Captain Asia asks, are the mini cards releasing at a big box store or will they be on the marketplace? And Mike had answered, we are thinking Walmart, and this isn't really a surprise from the original announcement of the mini booster packs. Mike had said they're thinking about Walmart in that announcement as well. Madamander asked, any chance of getting MZO medals again? Andy had replied to this one with something that was very surprising to me. Andy said, yes, but only after we restructure the tiers of metazoologists. The plan is to have a yearly event specifically for them, etc., etc. So that's interesting. That's the first time I'm hearing of a restructure of the metazoologist. I am currently an apprentice metazoologist. I've been eligible to take the master exam since mid-December. However, they haven't run a master exam. There was supposed to be one at the end of December, and it was delayed and never rescheduled. So my assumption is whatever this restructure is of the MZOs could be why we've seen such a delay in the Master MZO exam. James Jams 24 asks, will the red ink pull rates on online packs match physical pack odds? Mike had said yes, and this is really interesting for one reason. Red ink was not in the Cryptid Nation packs. It was in a box topper. So if we're talking about the same pull rates for cards in the sets, are we going to see some form of box topper for Cryptid Nation, or is red ink going to be mixed into the Cryptid Nation packs for the online TCG? Either way, I'm just really happy to see that red ink is going to be included in the online TCG. Level X Wolfie asks, can I interview at Orlando Collecticon before our medal event this Sunday? Interestingly, this is confirmation that Mike is not going to be at Orlando, unfortunately, but he will be in Ohio. So if you were looking to meet Mike at Collecticon, unfortunately he won't be there, but he will be in Mason, Ohio at the Water Tower next week. EC Taylor 71 asks, will the Sam St. Clair event card be available at the Frogman Festival? And Andy said nope. And that makes a ton of sense. The Sam St. Clair cards are Collecticon exclusives, so it wouldn't really make sense for them to be at the Water Tower in Ohio. However, we are going to be getting exclusive cards for the tower itself, as well as exclusive Water Aura specific packs with key cards from the Water Aura. We've been told already that there's going to be native spoilers at the Water Tower, and we're going to have the mystery envelopes. So there's already going to be so many different offerings and cool things happening at the Water Tower that we don't really need a Sam St. Clair promo there anyway. Wheelgun44 asks, can every print run be cut in half to help the game's longevity? Mike had a great answer for this. The game's longevity is dependent on way more than the print run. This is a game, not bonds. So it's interesting when you're talking about print runs in terms of the game's longevity. It makes sense to talk about print runs when you're talking about the value. The less there are, the more your cards are going to be worth in the secondary market. And from the LGS perspective, the less there are, the less likely you're going to have products sitting on your shelf. That's a whole nother topic for discussion that has nothing to do with the longevity of the game. Now, in my opinion, the print runs that we have are actually great for the longevity of the game. We're going to see a major boom in MetaZoo this year between the towers and the IP dropping. As it stands right now, today, I agree that the supply far outweighs the demand for MetaZoo. However, with that boom, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of the existing product eaten up, and that's a good thing because you want product to be available for those who are going to be jumping in, and they're going to be jumping in mass this year. So while I think this is an interesting question, it really is not rooted in the longevity of the game, it's rooted in the longevity of your investment. The TCG Maestro asks, sorry if anybody's already asked, but are we still getting the pumpkin promos? And Andy had replied that they're going to be shipping this coming week. I do know that some people have already received their pumpkin promos. I've seen some on TikTok and Instagram already, but it's good to see that the remaining promos will be going out soon. Madamander again asked about Nightfall rugs, and Mike had replied with no more rugs for the foreseeable future. That saddens me a little bit because I do actually really enjoy the rugs. I have 3 of them, and Nightfall has some amazing beasties that I think would make incredible rugs. But with what we've seen with the issues with the Dim-Mak rugs for Cryptid Nation, it makes sense that it's probably not going to happen again, or at least not in the foreseeable future. Those rugs took months to ship out. And even when they were ready the first time, MetaZoo ended up having to remanufacture them because the quality or the coloring on them was just not correct. So the first run of the rugs didn't seem like it was an easy task for MetaZoo to pull together. I could see them being hesitant to do further rugs. MetaZac asks, hey Mike, any estimate on when the Valentine plushies ship? Andy had said the pink hearts will likely ship next week. We always knew that they weren't going to be ready for Valentine's Day, so that makes sense. He did not say anything about the NFT gold hearts, so those are likely shipping at a later date. I Die Trying asks, which beastie is the war mascot? And Mike said, 2 Mothmen. Why 2 Mothmen? Well, we have 2 Mothmen depicted on the mat for the streamer kits, one in black for the Cryptid Nation Mothman, one in white for the Nightfall Mothman. Both of those were considered dark aura pages. I don't think we're going to see another dark set with war. I actually think we're going to see a light-based set, and possibly with the 2 Mothmen, a light-dark aura set. Because what other aura types would depict a battle between good and evil? Either way, I'm really excited for this announcement and what they could do with it. I'm excited to see what the booster box arts could be here, whether it'll have both Mothmen or you're going to see variants with the white or the black Mothman for the war booster boxes. Mario had said, remember to rep your favorite TCG. Andy, been wearing my hat everywhere I go. Andy said each tower will have its own aura-specific hat. The hats have been announced previously, but I thought it was interesting to bring up again with the tower coming up next week, that there's going to be a water-specific aura hat, and we're going to see aura-specific hats throughout the year. So if you're a hat collector, you have a lot to look forward to this year. Raw Water Tower Queen asks, will we get the mystery envelopes at Collecticon or at the Frogman Festival? And Mike had responded with Frogman, so I've already touched on that earlier in this episode, but this was the confirmation that the envelopes are going to be at the Frogman Festival. MetaZoo to the Moon asks, will you open up Water Tower to casters who didn't get accepted if there are people who don't show up but still meet the requirements? And Mike had said, yeah, if there's open seats, they're going to want to fill them. There's going to be enough spectators there that are going to want to take those spots as well. I have no doubt in this. So if you're going as a spectator, definitely be prepared with a spell book that you would want to play with, because there is going to be a chance that you could play. That's everything we had to talk about in this week's MetaZoo Hour. If you didn't catch the most recent weekly update, you can catch that right over there.